All right, so we are joined from Jackson by my friend Kayla McCarty, hospitality professional in every aspect of the word. Thank you so much for joining us. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School, and we're recording this for our friends at Rosa Scott, Madison Central, Ridgeland, Germantown High Schools, and our YouTube channel. And we're in the hospitality tourism career cluster, which I know you have several years of experience in, and is a very lucrative industry and is a very fun industry, really different from all of the other career clusters in its own way. And I have 11 years of experience in it myself, so I can speak firsthand, but you are really the pro. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So, well, I know we have a lot to talk about in your career, but take us back to the beginning, your high school and I know you went to Ole Miss. So talk about your high school and college experience that led you to get into hospitality.
Yeah, so I went to Oxford High School and then from there went to the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, as most people know it. And I studied business, but I knew I also wanted to do something that involved interacting with people, that involved traveling and involved exploring, which is what landed me into the hospitality sector.
Yeah, and that really is a good point because, one thing I always hear is everybody, they'll see a restaurant or somebody can cook really good. Oh, you can cook. You need to open a restaurant, but they don't know anything about running a business. So
Right.
it really isn't, especially restaurants and hotels and, and travel and all of that. It's different because there's a lot of business involved, but there's also a lot of interacting and sales involved. So I know you also, you've talked about you did the semester at sea, where you saw a lot of the world that really opened your eyes to hospitality. So take us through that because I think that's an interesting opportunity that I don't know anybody else that's done.
Yeah, so semester at sea was something I did during college, and it is basically a college on a cruise ship. So you live on the ship for 5 months, and each week you are exploring a new country. So we started our cruise off in Mexico, and then we went to Hawaii after that, and then we went to Asia, we went to Africa, and then our cruise ended in Europe. So we
Wow.
got to see a whole lot of places of the world. During that cruise, I stayed at a lot of hotels and while traveling, and that just really opened my eyes, opened my experience to what is really out there.
Yeah, and we'll come back to the travel industry, but I want to talk about you have a lot of experience in multiple restaurants and bars and
Yeah.
hotels. I know you've worked at the Quisby, which is one of my favorite places to hang out in New Orleans, right there, right next to the Garden District, not far from the
Yeah.
World War II Museum. So, talk about and we were talking before you came on about a lot of high school kids. All they see is McDonald's and Wendy's and Chick-fil-A and all that, and that's great. Those are great places to start working when you're in high school. They do have, and we all like their food. They do have great customer service, but the lucrative and high paying jobs are in the full service fine dining restaurants. They're in the high end hotels. So talk about the experience you've had with that, because I know you've worked on the Square in Oxford, which is some of the highest paying hospitality jobs in Mississippi.
Oh my gosh, yes. Um, and it's crazy, especially with football season. So, um, serving is different from fast food restaurant work in the sense that you are taking care of your table, you're getting them all the needs that they need, and you're making a lot more money by doing it. A Popeyes could pay you maybe $10 or $11 an hour, whereas serving and waiting tables, you can make upwards to 20, maybe even $30 an hour on a good night. Yeah, just depending on where you work. And even in the restaurant sector, they have well, in most sectors, they have your low scale, your mid scale, and then your fine dining. So the higher of the fine dining, you're going to make more money.
Yeah, and then also in hotels, because I know you've worked in the hotel industry as well.
Mhm.
In the big cities, that's where you're going to have your hotel jobs.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Especially places that people love to come and visit. And surprisingly, I've noticed the places where you think people don't want to come visit, they're coming still. Jackson is actually a big hub of people coming in and out every day for various reasons.
Yeah, and now another interesting thing about this industry is that you can do the college route. Southern Miss has a great hospitality program, as does Jackson State. The W in Columbus has the only culinary science program in the state of Mississippi for people interested in being the chefs. So you can do that route and get great training, get great internships, get great exposure. But there's also a way to get in the industry and learn it from the bottom, because there's always the joke about somebody can start off as a dishwasher and become an executive chef, or they can go to culinary school and go right into it. So talk about the different entry points. Oh, and also the associate programs at Hines and Holmes. Around here, both have associate programs of hospitality and restaurant management. So talk about the different entry points, because they really are vast.
Yeah, there are so many points. So, I mean, you've kind of covered a lot of them. So you can start in school, and that's where you're going to get your classroom training, but your experience really starts in the field. And so, like in a restaurant industry, I think a dishwasher, or what we call bussers. And so those are people who help out cleaning the tables and getting the tables ready for the next person who's going to be sitting there. Then we also have hosts, and they're the person who stands at the door, they're greeting everybody, welcoming them into the restaurant, and then they're seating them. So that's three places you can start in the restaurant. And then for the hospitality industry, most people just start off at the front desk, and then they work their way up from there. You can go into marketing, you can go into revenue, you can go into conventions and group sales. There's so many different things that you can go into after starting at the bottom.
Yeah, and this industry is not going away, especially post COVID now. People are willing to travel again. People are going back out to eat. People are having events. People are having weddings. And like you said, even in Jackson, the convention center, there is always something going on. And what we don't see are the people making that happen. So it really is cool, because you get to be at the event, not as a participant, but you have to work the event. So
Yeah.
but the thing about it, if you're a person that wants to work at night, when I was a full-time restaurant person, I was getting off at midnight every night. So if you want to say, I want to work in the evening and I want to sleep in, this could be a good fit for you as well.
It's true. Even if you're working the lunch shift, those usually start around 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. I'm sorry. So it is a later start to your day, which can be nice. And it gives you more flexibility, but it can go pretty late into those 1 a.m. nights. Had many of those.
Now, and the other thing you mentioned, and I like to talk about this with guests in every class, is because, a way that you can move up in this industry, whether you're on the hotel side, whether you're on the tourism side, whether you're on the restaurant side, is you have to be able to speak. You have to be able to market. You have to be able to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids, and I can speak for all the teachers that will see this later, these kids are so into their phones and so into texting and all that. And, and we are too, even people our age. But the lost art of being able to sell and market not only yourself, but your product. That's what makes you money in this industry. I'm not a big drinker, but I was able to sell different types of wine. I was able to sell different types of cocktails. I was able to sell different types of specials that the chef was offering that night. And then in the hotel setting, to sell a certain suite, to sell amenities. And then on the tourist side, being able to sell souvenirs, being able to sell experiences. So that skill is so vital. And that's what they don't teach you in school. You can know the business side, you can have all the knowledge, but you have to be able to speak in a way that people will not only believe you, but buy what you're selling.
Right. Just the difference between reading like, oh, there's a fried chicken sandwich, or it's like, hey, we have a fried chicken sandwich paired with a brioche bun, with these pickles, and sauteed pimento cheese, like adding in those extra elements to tell this customer more of the experience that they'll have. They'll be like, oh, that sounds good. Oh, what is that? And then it just creates engagement, which is another thing, is like you really have to engage with your customers to make their experience what we want.
Yeah, and then in this industry, online reviews are everything. So if people go on there and have a great review, it's going to be good for you. People are going to come back. People are going to keep using you. People are going to ask for you when they come in the restaurant. And in a tip in a tip driven industry, that can mean more money in your pocket. And I think one thing that we left out about the bussers and the host, they actually make cash as well. They do get a check, but they get a cut of the tips every night. We've had some young people here that, well, I was before you came on, I was giving an example of a kid here that worked at Dragos on County Line when he was 17 as a busser, and he was telling me how much money he was making, and I'm like, man, I tried to tell you, that's where the money's at. So, or even starting out at working at an Applebee's or somewhere like that to get that full service experience can really open up doors for you. And then companies like that can move you up into management. Buffalo Wild Wings is one. I've had classmates start at Buffalo Wild Wings as a server, and now they're general managers. So there really are lots of areas of advancement.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, what are some areas that maybe we haven't talked about or we don't know about? Because I know you just had a great experience with the International Ballet Competition, where you handled the travel for all the people from literally all over the globe coming in to Jackson. And it's like you said, you may not think that Jackson would be a high end destination, but there's always things going on. There's always things about in the city where people have to come here, and there have to be professionals to handle that. The people to not only to direct them, but to handle reservations and make arrangements for visitors. So just tell us a little bit about that experience because that's super cool, and some areas that we maybe haven't covered.
Yeah, so that experience I would say was similar to like a glorified concierge. And a concierge is someone who is, whenever you make it to a place that you're traveling, you can talk to the concierge who is going to give you recommendations about the place that you're in. They're going to tell you restaurant recommendations. They're going to tell you events that you can go to. They're going to tell you different experiences that you can have in that city. So for my IBC position, I booked all the flights for everyone who was coming in. And then I also told them what to do when they were here in Jackson. So we created a brochure that from scratch, and we told them all the restaurants that they could go to. We told them we had a hotel that we were working with, so we booked them all at the Westin downtown in Jackson. And then we also let them know what they could do during their time because they were here for 2.5 weeks, which is quite a while. So we just let them know what they could fill their time with.
Yeah, and then also y'all worked with Airbnb as well, which is another kind of niche of the hospitality industry that people can kind of do on the side. Um,
Yeah.
so I know y'all did that when you were here, but I know you had some experience with that as well. So maybe if people don't really aren't, because obviously, in high school, people aren't as familiar with Airbnb, but just talk a little bit about that because it's really a cool industry and something that pretty much anybody can get involved in.
Yeah, I love how the hospitality industry has so many different sectors because we have our commercialized hotels, which is like your Marriott, your Hilton, the chains that you know about. Then we also have something on the smaller scale, whether that's like a mom and pop bed and breakfast. We have one here in Jackson, the Fairview Inn. That's one of the
Yep.
places where I work. Um, and then we also have even smaller scale where it's an Airbnb where it might be just one person running an apartment and they decorate it, fix it up, and put it on the Airbnb platform and have people come in and stay, and they do it on a smaller scale. And then, I mean, there's hostels, which I'm not sure if you talked to your class about that, but that's like a budget way of traveling and having hospitality experience. If you don't want to pay for a hotel room that may be, upwards of $100 a night, you can, it's kind of like adult dorm rooms in a way. So you can pay and you're like living with however many other people are in the dorm room, but you're only paying maybe $50 a night. So it's a way to save money while still being able to go out and experience things. And it's just so many different ways you can find a place to stay whenever you're in a new place.
Yeah, and before I get to the students' questions, one last area I wanted to cover that is big here in Mississippi, because obviously we've talked about, this is where the Las Vegas and the Los Angeles and the Miami, Chicago, New York, these kids want to live in big cities. They can get into this industry and get there. But in Mississippi, there's a big demand for this. If you look at our casino industry, and we're not advocating gambling, so I don't want anybody to think that, but these are big businesses that need employees, and they are literally always hiring. Every time I drive by Beau Rivage, they're having a career fair. They literally have so many moving parts of people working in these casinos and hotels that pay very well and have great benefits. And they are owned by large corporations. And again, we talk about advancement. If you were in Biloxi working for the Beau Rivage, which is owned by MGM International, that could transfer you and with the MGM property anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. With the larger corporate chains, you can start in one place and move to the other. And in the casino industry, you can work in the hotel part, you can work in the gaming part. I actually applied to a hotel industry fresh out of college, and I almost went that route, but I ended up going to the restaurant scene instead. But there's just so many different ways that you can start and grow from there.
Yeah, and that's right here. They have it in Vicksburg, Biloxi, Natchez,
Mhm.
Tunica. So it really are opportunities right here in Mississippi for you to really get your foot in the door in a very lucrative industry.
Oh yeah, they're not going
That's
away, and they're everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and because especially with how much money they bring into the state, and again, like we said, post COVID, people are getting back out. People are willing to spend more money. People, and these places need good employees. They need good people. And again, like you and me have said, if you are somebody that likes to interact and meet people and really be somebody that can give somebody a great time, there's a lot of money to be made and a lot of jobs to be had.
Oh yeah.
All right, so I do have some questions from the students. I'll get to as many of these as I can. I like this first one. This is Willie Clay, one of our football players here at Velma Jackson. And he asked, what is your favorite part about being a server?
Talking to the people, getting to know your customers, and there's a term that we call regulars. So those are people you would be surprised. There are people who come to a certain restaurant or a certain hotel religiously. Like every Tuesday, Mr. Willie is coming and he's sitting at this table. So you can create like a little family atmosphere too with your customers and your clientele. So I love meeting the new people who are just coming in, they're first timers, and I love meeting the people who are there, either every day or at least every week.
Yeah, and then especially like a place like Oxford, where in football season you're going to have SEC fans from all over the country come in for the game. Ole Miss, anywhere where there's a major university, going to be hosting big time events. So you really do get to meet people from every walk of life and every corner of the globe.
All over. Yeah, they really come in.
Here's a good one. This is Caden Myers, also one of our football players here. And he asked, what was it that first got you interested in this career?
The flexibility. I knew I did not want to sit at a desk from 9 to 5. And I knew I needed to make good money. So I felt like that combined the two. I could work maybe 4 or 5 shifts, either the morning or the night throughout the week, and still come out with less hours and just about the same amount of money.
Or in some cases, more money.
Sometimes more. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. This is a good one. This is Jakethia Brown. And she asked, what is the favorite place you've been of all the places you've been?
Ooh. I'd like to say like Asia is really interesting. And for me, I like Southeast Asia the most. It's kind of like a tropical climate, but it's
Yeah.
still like laid back living. And so like Vietnam is one of the places, Cambodia. And then I also really like Latin America. So Cuba is really cool, Peru. Just once again, just like very laid back living, but everyone's so happy and everyone's so nice there.
Yeah. And those old cars in Cuba are so cool.
Yeah, they are really cool.
Here's a good one. This is Mariah Harris, and she asked, "When did you realize that hospitality was the right career fit for you?"
Oh, that's a good question. I think when I realized that I was waking up and I was excited to go to work every day, instead of dreading to go to work. Just like, oh, who am I going to meet today? Where are they coming in from? And your coworkers end up being your family. That's a big part of the industry. You can really work with some great people who make it a great work environment.
Yeah, and I finally let the restaurant industry go when I turned 40, but I was the same way. When there's a big event coming, you're going to be making a lot of money. Even
Yeah,
though you may get tired, at the end of the day, when you've got $300 in your hand, you were like, "That was pretty freaking
it was
awesome."
worth it. It was
Like when
worth it.
Mother's
Yeah.
Day, things like Mother's Day, Black Friday, when you're in a shopping area, things like that, you're going to meet all kinds. You'd meet people that you'd be, and you're right, you'd be shocked. I remember when I was working in the Renaissance, people were coming from Monroe, Louisiana, just to shop at the Renaissance. So you'd literally meet people from multiple states.
Yeah.
Here's a good one. This is Micaiah Luckett, one of our basketball players here, and she asked, what accomplishment are you most proud of in your career?"
Ooh, that's a great one. I actually think this IBC opportunity was a great one for me. As someone who's from Mississippi, who's traveled around the world, I felt very special to be booking people to come to Mississippi from all over the world. And it just felt very full circle. And I was extremely proud of that.
Yeah, and that is such a great event for the city. And I had some interactions with a lot of people as well. And I think the funny thing is me driving Uber during that this summer, I was able to meet people from all over the country, all over the world, and they all had the same opinion of Mississippi that the media portrays differently. They said everybody's super nice, the food is excellent, but the weather sucks. And I was like, I agree on all three sentiments.
We had the summer storms during that time. So they were a
It was
little,
bad.
what is
It
this?
was,
Yeah,
I just
but
got two, I just got two more, and I like both of these. This is Javion Fields, one of our football players here, and he asked, if someone wanted to get into this industry, how would you suggest they start?
I would start by seeing where your local, either your restaurants or your local hotels are, and just putting in an application. I think something as simple as that, starting in that busing experience or that host experience, um, or starting with the front desk. Um, I know there's also banquet staff, like that's a really good entry level where you just go and you work the banquets for people who have conventions or special events.
Awesome. All right, I just got one more. This is Michaela Dawson, one of our cheerleaders here, and she asked, "Where do you see yourself being in the future in this career?"
Probably moving up into like either more concierge work, which means like really curating someone's experience whenever they come into a place. Um, I think that's probably the best route that I'm going to take. Package deals. So not only having a place to stay, but having something to do with it, or having like a Valentine's Day special or something like that.
That's awesome. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us because this is such a cool industry that I think is a hidden gem. Especially in rural areas, you don't hear a lot about people getting into this industry, but it is a great way to not only see the world, see the country, but make really good money doing it. So,
Oh yeah.
what advice would you give any of these kids, whether they see this now or see it later, of why they should really look into getting into the hospitality industry?
I think if you want the flexibility and if you want to meet people from all over, like this is a perfect industry for you. Even like overseas, like there are places who will do a work trade. They'll let you stay there for free if you work the front desk. Like there, it's abundant and it's really something that you should look into.
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. Kayla McCarty right here in Jackson, hospitality professional. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Yeah, it's great to meet y'all. Thank y'all.
See ya.